steam engines are in the arena now, but we've got one or two coming up. The first one coming in is an Hadlow Porter steamroller. This is a 10-ton version. I think this one's a Lionheart, owned by Austin Hawkins. He does many, many miles on the road with it, every year to all different shows, and he tows a living wagon behind, one of these wooden sheds on wheels, and a trailer with a water cart and stuff. It's always essential to have things along with you, spare coal, spare tools, all that kind of thing, oil, you know, everything you would need with a steamroller. Well, I think that we're quite lucky that it's a little bit cooler here today. Yesterday we were doing this and it must have been about 1,000 degrees in here with no wind. We've got a bit of shade and a bit of cover and some breeze today. So I'm sure engine drivers and owners are finding this a little more comfortable. Well, what a lovely parade we've got coming down the road now. A beautiful sight there. Austin's just coming in and around the top with Lionheart. This engine's called Lionheart. Hadlow and Porter were one of the more popular manufacturers of steamrollers. They seem to corner the market over in Rochester in Kent of manufacturing the best and most popular steamrollers. I mean, most of the other manufacturers had a good go and they were perfectly alright, but each manufacturer seemed to have cornered the market in different things. Fowlers seemed to be good at ploughing engines, Burrells were very good at showman's engines, and Hadlow and Porter just happened to pick the steamroller. And this is a great example of one coming round now. And while we're on the steamroller theme, we've got a very interesting example coming up, just past the commentary box. This one is made by Taskers of Andover in Hampshire, so a southern-built manufacturer. Taskers were quite innovative and thought they'd have a go at changing the design of the front end of this engine. For the keen-eyed ones of you will notice that the front roller is made up of 5 individual rolls. Now, I think the reason for this is the idea was to make it easier to turn and give a better finish to the road surface. Having 5 smaller rolls broke down the fact of being able to turn it on the spot. So if you try and turn a normal steamroller, you're trying to drag 2 great big heavy rolls, whereas this, having 5, is a bit more articulate. It's also known as a convertible engine. So if you look on the front, just in front of the chimney over the smoke box, you'll see a ring of bolts and a flange. What this meant was that you could use it as a steamroller with the heavy steel rolls on or iron rolls, and then when you wanted to do something else with it, like haulage or timber work, you could unbolt the front end and you could put wheels on it and make it into a steam tractor, thus meaning you could save the price of having to buy 2 different engines and only have 1 steam engine. I mean, of course, it was quite labour intensive to do this. And following him round is another Wallace & Stevens, but in this case it's a traction engine. Beautiful single-cylinder engine there. Now I particularly like this one. It's owned by the Coppards, and it looks in its working clothes. You might think to yourself, well, they don't look after this, it's all rusty, it's all dirty. But actually, it's all in its original clothes, so that means it's harder to look after because you're trying to preserve a paintwork or a finish that was produced.
Yeah, that one is pretty much as it came out of the yard when they got it, because it hardly needed anything doing to it, and yeah. Yes, I'm wondering about the headstock, a white headstock and flywheel on this. Was it used for a wedding, or was it, in fact, they've just done the primer colour and they're going to paint it green later? Or was it something that they had in Blackpool? I don't know, because that's who it used to work for, Blackpool Corporation.
Maybe they were trying to disguise it as a tram.
Now, aren't they, Ray?
Wallace and Stevens Advance, very appropriate name for it. Wallace and Stevens were down a Mason's Road and they developed this type of engine for when we started to get the tarmac roads, because they found an ordinary roller, when it rolled in one direction and it would stop to come back, it would leave a little dent in the road. So Wallace and Stevens developed this system where it would go immediately from forward to reverse. And the steering was different because all the other engines you see, the steering is by chains. They didn't. They put a worm gear and a quadrant on the front. So it made the steering a bit more positive. So very appropriate in a way, I think, that they called it the Wallace and Stevens Advance, because it was advanced on other engines.
Yeah, well, it was a, you know, to use the technicality, a twin-cylinder duplex engine, so it was like having a double compound. But it wasn't done for speed, it was done for accuracy. It was very, very efficient. And the other, yeah, exactly. That's the Fred's just saying this. I'm just going to pick it up. Not only that, the rear wheels, because they were building roads with a double camber in them there, the rear wheels are separate. And you can actually have it so that you can adjust to fit the camber of the road that you're rolling. When my son's got one of these, a 6-tonner, and when he told me that, I thought he was pulling my leg, but that's exactly right. Another Marshall's and Gainsborough engine.
Yeah, there's been enough marshals all coming in ready for his road journey home with a trailer on the back. That's the sort of trailer that these engines would have towed behind them. Got a water tank on there if he needs water on his journey back home. He's got his coal on the front there and a toolbox as well.
Mr. Mansley, the Mansley family who owned this, when it comes to the Bluebell Road running, he arrived with 2 trailers full of broken bricks, which is what it used to do, not broken, but take that sort of load. 2 traction trailers, as they called them. They were heavy, solid tyres with wooden sides on it. That's a double for this engine. That's the sort of jobs they used to do. As I said, Steve did everything, even taking the loads of bricks to building sites and taking the hardcore for building roads, the whole thing. And I'm sure Fred or Ray won't mind me just talking about Daisy for a minute, because this engine is making his debut. It was bought many years ago. It was taken out of, George bought it for scrap from Wheatley's scrapyard in New Haven, and it was, to start with, it was actually rallied for a little while by Claude, and then it needed what he thought was just new tubes, but I think it was Peter Haney got in there in the firebox to see, making sure the new tubes were not leaking. Well, it wasn't the tubes only, the firebox was leaking. He got soaked, and of course that condemned it, because the firebox was then condemned, had to be rebuilt. And Claude was dealing with other engines then, not so many volunteers, so it got put in the shed, and there it stayed for close on 40 years. Anyway, the workman on this, the work that's been done, has been mainly done by, well, a lot of it's been done by a mother and daughter team, and I know they're on there at the moment. It's great to see it out for the first time here today. It was due out last year, but still needed some work done, and the boiler inspector came along to pass it fit for service at 9 o'clock yesterday, 10 o'clock yesterday morning. So it's the first time it's been out, and it's good to see it. Claude, if you was about today, would be also very pleased to see it.
David, we've got an imposter in the arena, posing as a steam engine, over there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is Thunderbird, yeah.
Well, strictly speaking, only half of it is not steam. I mean, the rolls and the back wheels and the steering wheel come directly off the steam because it's idling. And idling, of course, built rollers, which is well seen today. But this time it's got a single-cylinder diesel engine on it, which is exactly what idling did. The steam was on its way out, diesels were coming in, and they wanted to carry on building rollers. So use what steam picks you've got, same as the front roll and everything, as much as you could, but you put a diesel engine in it. Burrow in front of us now. Burrows were built up at Sexford in Norfolk. If you're going up that way on holiday and you've got a bit of time to spare, when you get to Sexford, don't go trundling round the bypass, go into the town. And just as you go over the river, on your right-hand side, I think there's a parade of shops there. It used to be a Safeway supermarket, but that's gone. I think there's some shops there, and on the end of it is the Burrell Museum. The Burrell Museum, that was the actual paint shop of the Burrell factory. It's still left standing, and that's the Burrell Museum, and well worth paying a visit to.
Yeah, it's referred to as a long shot because it wasn't, as I said, it was literally a long shot where the final work, the paintwork was applied.
That's Garrett's is a long shot. Garrett's is a long shot.
Garrett's is a long shot. You're right. No, I should have started. I should have just gone back to sleep. Sorry, Ray.
This is Burrell's.
St Leicester.
That's it.
Yeah. That's their museum.
And that again is another place where the visit. I went there, well, a good 2 years ago now, but apparently since then they've completely redone it. It's a marvellous museum. I haven't had a chance to go back up and have another look.
The logo that's just going in the lining now is the only example I've seen, certainly in this country, of a Kemner, which is a German-built engine. And sorry, I was trying to spread, as you were saying about the features of the Kemner, quite different from ours. It's a 10-tonner called Squirrel, very nice name for the engine, built 1918 as a gun tractor for the First World War. Converted to a roller and restored in 2023 back to its original as a tractor, but there's some interesting features you just don't see on ours.
Yes, we were talking about it earlier and we were saying that it's got what is known as a superheater fitted to it. So our railway enthusiast people will know what a superheater is. It's where you run a series of tubes through the front of the smoke box and down through the boiler tubes into the fire, and they get hot, and then the steam from the boiler goes through those tubes into the cylinder before it's running the engine. And what this does is dries the steam out. So as we were talking about earlier, our friend Ollie and the prime up of water in the cylinders, this does away with all of that. It dries the steam. And what it does, it makes it much more efficient on coal and water. And I was speaking to my friend Michael earlier, who owns this engine, and he said since he fitted this arrangement, it's vastly used a lot less water and a lot less coal. So actually, it's one of those kind of design things that you think may have been a bit of a sales gimmick, but actually proved itself to be really efficient.
I think Garrett had a go at building an engine with a superheater, but it didn't work. And apparently it didn't work. It's an engine still around this area somewhere, Ollie? Yeah, Ollie? But all the tubes that were in the smoke box, they were all taken out because it just didn't work. It's strange, I always thought it rather odd because it worked on a railway locomotive, but it didn't seem to work on a road locomotive. But that proves the point, it does work.
I also wonder if they possibly removed it because it was a lot of maintenance to the bus.
That's my theory as well. That's exactly what I think. But obviously it was German engineering. Some Germans can do it. Mr. Hatfield's Sentinel is looking to be steaming well at the moment. It's blowing off and steaming at the same time. I think Jim is ready to go. His engine started life as, believe it or not, a ready-mix concrete lorry. Well, it's so common there, poor Benny nowadays going up the road, but to see one then, it was new to British steel piling. It was an American idea. Looked quite different to our mobile concrete mixers, and in fact it was mainly an agitator, in other words a concrete that couldn't pre-mix, and it was in there to take it to the site. The drum was removed in the late 1960s when the Sentinel, and it's the only one of a DG6 six-wheeler, went to Warmen of Twickenham, who did an awful lot of work clearing the bomb damage in London, particularly around the centre of the city. And he just used any old second-hand, it was just after the war, obviously after the war, any old second-hand army lorries he could and converted them to tippers. Anyway, this one was worked very hard, and when Jim got it, needed a lot of work done, and it's a credit to him. It's absolutely superb condition, and it's going later on this month now, because we're in June, next tomorrow, it's going to France again. It went 2 years ago on the ferry, the FDS ferry from Newhaven, not in steam, it's pushed on and pulled on, but once it gets to France, he's in steam, and all the way to Journey-en-Bray via Bois-Joseux. And I mentioned those two names, probably with the wrong pronunciation. The Bois-Joseux is twinned with Heathfield, and Journey-en-Bray is twinned with Hailsham. And they go to the velodrome, which is the trotting circuit racetrack just outside the town there. There's about 400 tractors. It's an agricultural show really, and they love it when the English take the steam engines over, which we do.
Many years ago, Sentinels were built up in Shrewsbury, and I was up that area on holiday, and I was very surprised to see Jim come flying down the road with it, and it turned out they'd all gone to, I think it was Bishop's Castle really, and they were having a 10th anniversary road run from what remains of the Sentinel work back to Bishop's Castle. And I was quite surprised and amazed to actually see an engine that I knew from my area come flying down the road to stop here.
On the French run, we take all the old tractors over. Shady Tractor Company, that's the charity, they take the old tractors over. And Jim Hatfield got there first. I mean, it was good speed 20 miles an hour, quite capable of that. Jim Hatfield was the first to arrive, beat everybody else there by a good few hours. They love us over there because they still remember that we liberated them on D-Day, and they hang out the Union Jacks in the windows, they get the mayoral reception. We're very well looked after over there. We're all those of us that are going are very, and in fact on the 7¼ inch gauge that's just going along the back there, that engine also is going to France, and we're running that on the with a portable track on the racetrack. Okay, well that wraps up our events for the whole weekend. The 60th anniversary of the Tinkers Park Steam Rally. Started, obviously, 60 years ago by Claude and Joyce Jessett, now departed, now in the hands of the Jessett Trust. And I think Claude and Joyce will be very surprised to see how well their collection has been not only preserved but restored. new buildings and everything. It's amazing. I've only been doing it since about 2024 and been a volunteer, 2004. And the amount of change I've seen over that time has been dramatic. But this is all in aid of cancer research. Every rally that they've done, all the takings have gone to cancer research. Now obviously we've got to take out expenses, insurance, toilets, coal, first aid, all those sort of things. But they're approaching, getting towards the £500,000 mark now. Yeah, in what we've taken. And that might sound not a lot for over 60 years, but bear in mind that in the early days, the profits were in a matter of £200 or £300. But now, I think last year, Peter? Last year we gave them £18,000, wasn't it? I think that was right. Last year, £18,000. We hope that we're going to give the same this year. But how we do that is all down to the owners and drivers, etc., that bring these engines all the way here. Some of them cover quite a distance, a lot of them on their own speed. And it's also down to you, the general public, who come through the gate and give generously. And it's lovely to see at the end the total we've made. The steerer steam engine, I know we've probably done over £200 on that this weekend. The donations from the railway will go towards it. The fairground pay a certain percentage towards it. Thanks to Harris's, who supported this event for 59 of the 60 years. Rounded them up, got them here with the wonderful Southdown Gallopers, which are here today. So we've got history all around us here today. It's lovely to see you. Thank you to everybody. Thanks to all the volunteers that have helped us today. And certainly, as I say, a big thanks to the general public for supporting the rally and to the owners and drivers of all the steam engines. Over 30 of them have been here today. Also, I want to thank for the first time Fred Streeter, who's helped me out on a very dusty day. Your throat gets a bit tired, and of course Ray, who's been here every year and has done all the sound system, which works, I must say, works better than a lot of the other rallies I've done. So thank you very much, Ray, looking after it all for us. And with that, it's goodbye and good night, and we're all gonna, I'll probably have a last minute beer and pack up all our stuff and get ready to go home. Thanks again to everybody.
Yeah, thank you, David. I think we've worked together quite a few times now at various rallies, and I've worked with Fred before as well, and it's been great.